Awesome.
And you'll start seeing green AoEs around your screen if you're poisoned. That's how you know you're purged. Be sure to call for a purge if you don't get one for 5-10 seconds. You can bring the other boss in.
Oh, is it
There you
dead
go.
already?
Yeah, I mean we have great DPS here. We're doing really well so far. Essentially we're just here to learn stacking mechs and everything. I have no doubt this group's more than capable to nail down these bosses pretty easily. And that's that. So next we're going to get 2 Kagutis and 2 Centurion Archers. If everyone's stacked back up here, I'll show you all exactly how to grab these. So Drat, it's going to be me and you. Essentially what we're going to do is one of us will grab the left Kaguti and the left Archer, and the other one will grab the right 2. And we will just cross. So if you see that blue pad and the kind of straight long metal thing right there that protrudes towards the center,
Yep.
you're just going to taunt and then run to that. So what you're going to do is you're going to taunt this right Refabricant and run to that pad, and it'll stack him in the middle. So taunt that right Refabricant and the right Kaguti, and run to the middle of the pad in front of that blue circle, and it will stack them perfectly in the middle. And I'll do the same. Everything will be good.
Okay, so we're gonna stack in the middle, and they follow us, is what you're saying?
Yeah. We will run to the sides, and then the ranged guys will stack in the middle, and then we'll run back to the middle and stack the melee guys.
Okay.
All right. Pulling in 3, 2, 1.
Oh, did I grab the wrong one?
No worries. I'll just go ahead and pull them in here. Just so everybody can see where I'm stacking right now. The Kaguti, or the Refabricant that I have, is stacked in the center right now.
I see. I got it now.
Yeah, so you just cross the whole arena with them, and it stacks them both on top of each other nicely and smoothly. Alright, let's go ahead and get back to that original pad, you guys. So this boss is relatively interesting for the main tank. This is the kind of the tank killer boss that everybody hates dealing with. This guy is the Pinnacle Factotum. Yeah, great way to wipe your team. Everybody loves his shield and block main, whatever, the simulacrum mechanic.
May I ask
So
a
if
fast question before
Yeah.
you get started on the mechs? What does Brittle show up as in CMX? What's the name of it?
oh god, it's minor brittle.
Minor. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. So this fight essentially is localized into 2 parts. 1, there is the portal phase, and 2, there is the boss's simulacrum phase. We'll have various AoE mechs that we have to deal with, such as a meteor will fall out of the sky onto a certain player, and we'll do things like call move meteor or call spread. And that essentially means that we will have to get out of the group because the AoEs are focusing on where the group is stacked. So for the entirety of this fight, you're going to want to stack on the butt of the Pinnacle Factotum. This is the boss standing in front of us. And the off tank, that's Drat, will see various alternate mechs, alternate ads popping up. There's a steamer and then a spinner. And the steamer will come into the group. It will kind of haunch itself into a cube and spray steam out of all 4 of its angles. A good hard mode group will bring the steamer in, and it'll die before it does that mechanic. However, I think, want to be more attentive when we get to veteran, that is, about staying out of the steam that pops out, because it might get 1 or 2 blasts just in case we don't nuke it down fast enough. So that's one item, and then the other one is the spinner. It's essentially just a dwarven giant that comes out and has a big AoE around it. It's pretty easy. Drat, you'll just kite that around the side of the room. You'll get a pop-up on your raid notifier when he spawns.
Okay.
Alright, so if anybody's looking at my screen right now, this is essentially my routine for dealing with the Pinnacle Factotum. I have 1 add-on and 1 ESO inherent mechanic that I like to employ in order to make sure that I know how to block the Factotum properly. And I guarantee you I'm going to miss some charges here because I haven't been in this trial in a while. But this is essentially the best way to give yourself a good clean shot. So I'm sure most people here are familiar with the Factotum's mechanic. He will multiply himself into 4 people on each cardinal direction around the main tank, whoever has taunt. and then he will start blasting out conals that deal, I think, 25,000 damage to anybody that's in the range. And the main tank can block these conals by shielding up and catching the conal at its source, which is the boss. So what I like to do is I will take off my enemy brightness for AoEs, which can be very challenging because there's a lot of AoEs in this trial, so you have to be very aware of the mechs and things that are happening, because essentially what happens is the boss is going to be in the middle of an AoE field. So if you have, bright colors on your AoE, it's going to be very challenging to see where the boss is porting. So if everyone sees what I just did, I went to gameplay, and on combat, I changed enemy brightness to as low as it can be. So if you see underneath the trader here, it's very, very not bright, because the boss goes kind of, shimmery. It becomes, holographic, and it's hard to see which one is the real one. And I also have hide group on. Hide group's really efficient because it hides the birds and the maws and all the pets and all the mages and everything that spawns from your group, so you have nothing to distract you from focusing on the boss's mechanic. Alright, that was a lot of talking. Does anybody here want to do portals? I'll ask one last time if anyone wants to do portals. We already have Val going up to do portals as a delayed portal. Perfect. All right, so Chris, what you'll do in portals is you'll hear a call out from the boss, or not the boss, the NPC that's involved in the guild in the trial, and he'll say, those factotums are up to something or something like that, and then the portals, those little blue pads on each cardinal direction of the arena, will light up. And what you'll do is you'll go up into the portal, and it'll take you upstairs. And upstairs there are 4, I think, Centurion spheres that are covered in a blue shield that are channeling things in the middle of the upstairs arena. And you'll need to kill them before they can channel and kill the whole group. So essentially what we'll do is you'll go up one of these portals. That'll be your cardinal direction. We do front, back, left, and right. So front, back, left, right. Usually, actually, people will say entrance, exit, left, and right. So entrance is where you guys are. Exit's where I am. Left is over here. Right is over here. So what needs to be done is all of the spheres upstairs need to be killed before the timer runs out. I think it's a minute. And what you'll do is everybody, as you go up, you'll be shot with a laser from the center apparatus, and you'll need to drag that laser through the Centurions. So as 2 DPS and 2 delayed healers, or in this case we might do 3 DPS and 1 delayed healer, you'll run up, get the laser beam through the sphere, kill the sphere, and then just keep going around in the circle until all 4 are dead. Then you'll return to the area that you first went up, your entrance, exit, left, or right pad based on the orientation upstairs, and you'll pull a lever all at once as a group, 4 levers in total, and that'll shut down the machine. The mechanic's over. So just to reiterate, you'll go up in the portal, you'll kill all the dwarven enemies up there, and then you'll go back to the portal that you came out of, or the back to the portal that you went up in, rather, and you'll click the lever there at the same time as everybody else. And I'll designate a raid leader up there to call levers. So why don't we do Chris entrance, Clap, why don't you do left, Leah, you'll do exit, and then let's see, Val, you'll do right. So if everyone go and stand on their portals right now, get yourself kind of acclimated. This is where you'll go when I call portals. Yeah, and Val, you as a healer, you don't actually need to go up because everybody that's going up should have a self-heal and a shield to keep them alive up there. And what you'll do is you'll go up after all the dwarven enemies are dead just to pull a lever.
Chris, you're on my portal.
Yes, Chris, you're on entrance. Clap left. Leah here.
Just take that one. Go ahead, take that one. I'll go entrance.
Gotcha. Okay, so Clap's on entrance. Chris, you're going to do left portal. So you're going to go up. You're going to kill your dwarven enemy. And make sure you're dragging that laser beam that attaches to your body through the shielded dwarven enemy. That's how you make them vulnerable so that you can attack them. And then you hit the lever as a group. So Clap, I'll give you the kind of the leeway to call when levers should be pulled.
Okay.
So also, what people upstairs will need to do, and Clap, I'll give this to you as well, is call when you have 3 Dwarven Spheres done, and then Val, you will go to your portal, go upstairs when 3 Dwarven Spheres are done, and you will click on your lever. When you guys get up there, you're going clockwise around, so you'll see 1 Dwarven Sphere at each cardinal direction. You're going to start on entrance, then you're going to go to left, then you're going to go to exit, then you're going to go to right, and that should kill all the Dwarven Spheres. And honestly, because we have so much DPS, we may not get through this mechanic, but it's good for everybody to understand and see what's going on up there. Feel free, if you're a DPS and you haven't seen Portal, by all means, go up to Portal. Like, it genuinely doesn't matter. We're going to sit down here and play mechs regardless. If you want to see what Portal looks like and you don't particularly want to be a part of Portal, go up there, jump on one of these pads, and see what it's all about. See what all the DPS are doing up there. If you don't want to do that, you want to just stay down here and parse the boss, feel free. And then if you're watching my stream right now, you'll get to see, hopefully, what the simulacrum routine looks like. Alright, that was a lot of talking, so I'm going to go ahead and initiate a ready check. This is one of the more challenging tank bosses in the arena. Everything else is really based on positioning. I'd say the triplets are probably the hardest one. This one might be second hardest. So this is by far the most explaining I'll do for a particular mechanic. But Mads, are you ready? And then Chris, are you ready as well?
Yeah.
All right. So everyone's good to go. I'm going to go ahead and pull in 3, 2, 1. My Horn, Cone, your Colossus. And remember, guys, we are all stacking on the Factotum's butt. Drat, we have a steamer up. So Drat, you just want to stack on the main boss and bring that steamer over here.
Hopefully he'll follow me.
Alright, let's go ahead and slow DPS, guys.
Conduit in the back.
Alright, and that was the mechanic for...
Get off that. Get off that. Oh.
Alright, the mechanic is happening. Let's get portals, guys. Let's slow DPS on the main boss. I think he's actually invulnerable right now because of a conduit. Yep, we have a conduit in the corner.
The left is still operational.
Alright, we got another Factotum phase. Yeah, like I missed, I think, 2 of those.
All right, everyone on a lever.
Pull? Pull?
Pulling in 3, 2, 1. Pull.
Mine doesn't have a thing.
I'm missing my lever.
Yeah, I had to go
The
to the
lever.
Side.
Did you kill them all?
Yeah.
Did you ask the healer to come up?
Yeah, that's that's the
You
question.
kind of need the 4th person.
Yeah, Val, go ahead and go up.
I can't. It's too late.
They didn't call for her to come up. It just takes practice.
Yeah, no
Remember
worries.
to call her. Okay, so like as Cole was saying, you have to stack tight super on his butt. Because if not, we get those lightning puddles because someone was too far from boss. He'll jump to the farthest person.
Yeah.
If that's not the case. You see those meteors come down? Like, it has to be like 1 pixel. Right before they go off, which is 3 or 4 seconds, you dodge out the way. Otherwise, most things can be healed through.
So that was kind of a snapshot version of the fight. It's not, especially challenging if everybody gets mechanics down. We kind of rush through everything, but I hope everyone got to see, kind of what it looks like in various areas of the trial. Maz is correct. You got to stack really tight on the boss's butt because he will teleport if you're even slightly far away from him. Like the average distance of an elemental wall is the amount of distance that he will travel to attack you. So you got to be very careful in terms of how far away you are from the boss. That wave attack that he does won't kill you. All you have to do is block and hold block through it. And that's kind of it. So, and if you're watching my stream, you got to see kind of what it looks like to be on the simulacrum phase. I definitely missed like 3 or 4 simulacrum. It's a very challenging mechanic. I struggle with it a lot. But, you got to kind of see the best strategies to give you the biggest fighting chance in terms of beating that boss.
If you miss one on vet, are you dead pretty much?
Not necessarily. It's a conal that shoots out in the direction of the boss's face. So if your group is stacked well on the boss's butt, you really only need to block one conal. In fact, that's what most hard mode groups will do. They'll only block one conal because the boss will only kill the group if he hits one conal. So yeah, it's certainly not group wipe if you miss one, and it gets easier as he goes because he disappears from the direction he's already used when he does his mechanic. All right, so for this area, what we're going to do, and I'm going to slot an ability here called time freeze. What we're going to do here is we're going to run around both tanks, each different sides of this circle that we're on until we get to the dwarven spider. So Drat, you're going to go left, and the whole group's going to go left, and I'm going to go right, and it's just going to be me on the right. All right, we're pulling. So Drat, start running left there. Let's avoid the spinners. I think we're actually technically supposed to just kill everything at the starting area, but since we pulled, we're just going to go ahead and run around. So Drat, you just run until you meet the octagonal platform that's kind of right in front of the boss. I'll show you which one, since I think I should get there faster. And then we will stack on this platform, and we will nuke everything. And that's the platform right in front of you. So you just stack right there. Everybody hold up right here. I'm going to go ahead and get a time freeze. And we just stack right here, tight as we can be in the middle so we don't get hit by the blades, and we just nuke everything down. I'm sure y'all have probably seen this in one way or another. And a little trick for DPS and for tanks, if you are using a skeletal mage or you're wearing the set Alkosh, you can actually bug this pull by bugging a spider underneath the main platform. If you run through and you proc Alkosh while you're taunting and running, Drat, you can clip one of these spiders into the floor, and that'll bug the pull so that we can't get out of combat.
Okay.
We may have also missed one, so I'm going to run back and see if there's one back here. Just something to think about. 'Cause I remember I've had this happen on a few pulls. Doesn't look like we got one over here. And this is one of the more common problems with this pull, is that we'll always run out of a spider or some other mechanic.
And you could build your ultimate holding block in the fans to get ready for the spider pull.
I did not know that. Interesting.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. If for whatever reason we're still in combat, but we don't actually have an ad anywhere that I can see, so we're just going to try to do this fight. Hopefully everyone has their sets on properly, and even if not, it's normal, so it doesn't really particularly matter. So for this fight, it's just a giant spider. It walks towards you. Drat, if you'll come up here, and you see right here, there is a pylon here. You'll pull this, not now, but when the boss gets to kind of like that area, you'll pull this and it'll make an electric line through the floor, and that'll stun the boss. So that's your job as off tank in this entire fight. DPS, make sure you're stacking on the side that has the lever. If you see that glowing orb right there, because the faster moving blades are the ones you want to be on, because they do less damage because they move faster. So everybody come up here and stack on Drat. This lever will alternate sides as you go back, so we won't just be hugging the right side of the arena. We'll be moving left and right, so just look for this glowing orb, and that's where you're going to stack for when the boss is moving. And when we zap the boss, essentially, I'll call for you to put the trigger down. When we zap the boss, essentially, he'll spawn 2 different ads, if we don't kill him in one shot, that is, and I'll bring those 2 ads with us as we go to the next area, and then we'll stack them on the boss when he gets nuked next time. This boss is really easy. I'm just going to go ahead and pull. Oh, found the spider. I guess we'll kill the spider then while the boss walks towards us. And when you guys see the boss rounding that corner there, if you see that stone, that's when you want to lay down your dots. Drat, you can go ahead and press that lever now. That may have been a little too early, actually. I may have just fucked that up. My horn. Alright, everybody go ahead and line up the boss. And the ads will always spawn from this little terminal that's a little bit behind where the boss is currently incapacitated. So as you guys run back, there's this terminal kind of on your left here. Oh, there's only one in normal. Interesting. And then there is another lever right here.
I tend to do it when it gets close to those two.
So go ahead and slam that lever. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you guys do want to be on the other side because you want to be on the side that has the less fast moving blades in veteran. That is in normal, and it doesn't particularly make a difference. All right, we'll go back to where the boss was spawned. That fight's really easy for the main tank and the off tank. Off tank's literally just pulling levers. Main tank's literally just holding ads. Alright, these little beams will zap your magicka, so just run through them quick. And as the main tank in this trial, you want to make sure you're the first one through that door, because you want to grab the bosses and the aggro on the bosses before anything else. So I'll show y'all what we do here. We grab the Mega Man, which is the guy with the rocket hands, and we just run into that corner that y'all just saw me in. And that corner will line of sight the rocket hand ad into the middle, and then we will dodge roll back into the middle and take the other ads and stack them on top of him. When we're getting into these triplet boss stages, it's all about how to stack that rocket hand guy. So just to reiterate, you'll jump in this corner after you taunt the Mega Man, and he will stack right here. And I'll show you there's kind of a replication of the stack pattern in every single fight with the Mega Man. So I'll show you all up here. I think we have two here. Yeah, I'll show you guys how we stack them up here. So I'm going to grab 1, 2. Off tank, if you would grab that Kaguti, and you're just going to stand right here. They're both going to stack here. And then we bring everything to the 2 Mega Men, and we burn them all down. So I'll just reiterate that again. This little corner right here stacks them perfectly across from you, and then you just run the melee ads right back into them. Alright, for this next fight, we're going to do very slow DPS to this boss, because if we kill him too fast, he won't spawn his ad friends. So, Drat, you're going to come up here, and you're just going to taunt him. Everybody is going to just heavy attack and light attack. You're going to essentially, I guess, just build ult on this boss until you see little lightning balls come out of him. So, Drat, if you would come up here and taunt him. And once you see little lightning orbs come out of them, I'll show you all how the main tank will typically stack the ads that come out. There you go. We got one over there, one up here, one right here, and one right here. And what you'll do... Oh, come on. Is come over here. I don't know if y'all ever heard of the floaty rock, but you'll just jump into this rock right here, and it'll float you up, and the ads will stack right behind you. I know some TTT groups like to do the floaty rock for luck. This is where it originated from. It was just how the main tank typically stacked those orb guys. And that's it. One of them didn't move because he was channeling Ballisto the whole time, so you just kind of have to be patient. Doesn't really matter since we're killing everything so fast. Alright, so up here we have a good few ads. Main tank will typically take all of them, stack them on the Mega Man, and then off tank, Drat, you will come over and grab the big guy. And then I'll show y'all what to do when he spawns his 4 groups of ads. Because he also spawns ad friends. See if he pops them out right here. Nice. All right, you will run down here and you will hide in this little corner right here. There's kind of an like a trash pile kind of thing, and that'll bring them all right there. Now they're all stacked up, all lined up perfectly, and you can nuke them to death. And typically in that ad fight, what we'll have is nobody go through the door, by the way, because that'll trigger the fight. What we'll have typically in that ad fight is the main tank will take the 2 or the 4 offshoot dwarven spheres. The off tank will hold the main guy in the middle, and then by the time he's dead, all of the ads will be stacked kind of down the hill. We'll kill them, and then move on to the main fight. All right, so we can go ahead and walk in now. Just so everybody's aware, I'll go through stacks right now. Left stack is me, Feyrez, Mads, Tobuscus, Emu, Mindy, and Leah. That's left stack. Right stack is Drat, Valthoom, Ender, Cone, and iClap. And there's a really nice helper for this. I think it's called... Alright, so the Halls of Fabrication status panel is what I use as a tank for this particular boss fight. I'm sure everyone's familiar with the horror story that is the triplets, but the bosses will aggro to both tanks, the middle one will not, and they will essentially put a debuff on the tanks that gets stronger and stronger until they die. So the tanks need to do is they need to swap essentially between two bosses. So what I use is Shielded Assault. If you are a Sork tank, you can use Blink, or whatever the mechanic is that allows you to do the electric teleport. And you'll essentially have one tank that calls swap, at which point you will look at the tank that's on your left or on your right, and you'll just shield charge their boss and taunt them. One big thing about this fight that ruins a lot of groups is that you cannot over-taunt the boss. If anybody's not familiar with what over-taunt is, it's when you taunt a boss more than once in 10 seconds. That means the boss cannot be taunted again by any other character for 10 seconds after your most recent taunt. So a lot of tanks, when they get nervous, they fiddle around. I know I do this a lot, is they just stab the boss over and over with their taunt. That can ruin a group here because it's impossible to swap taunt, to swap aggro of the boss that you have to the other tank. So if you have Untaunted, it's a great add-on that tracks your taunt calculator. You will essentially just look at your Untaunted. If the boss has 5 or less seconds left, you taunt him. If he doesn't, you do not taunt him. And if you are watching my screen or anything like that, or have it up on a different screen, you'll see what Untaunted looks like. I'm sure everyone's fairly familiar. It's a healer mech too, to count LE drain times. Essentially what we'll do is we'll bring all 3 of the bosses, or bring both the bosses to the middle boss in the middle at the very beginning of the fight. In Vet, we will wait until 90%. If you're a great group, you'll wait till 70%. And after whatever percent you choose, you will take the bosses away from each other. And then you will nuke them all separately. That's where our stacks come into play. As we swap tank aggro, the DPS will not change. So DPS, you will always be fighting the left or right boss, depending on your stack. So that's essentially the gist of the fight. Tanks in this trial, I believe you bring the bosses in at 70%, at 40%, and at 25%. Probably a little off on the percentages, but essentially the boss, the main, NPC will call when you need to bring them all together because they're overloading. And your raid notifier will also tell you when you need to bring them in because they're overloading. So the specific, I think the specific percentages are, I think it's like 70, 50, and 30. I don't know them off the top of my head, but let's, just pay attention to your raid notifiers. It'll tell you when to stack the bosses. So Drat, what you're going to do is you're going to taunt the reactor. I'll taunt the reducer, and then we will stack on the main boss. We'll get a Horn and Colossus on the 3 of them and nuke them until they get to 90%. Since it's normal, they'll probably get to 70%. And then we're going to take them away, and each stack is going to fight the boss that they're assigned to, and then Drat, I will call Swap. I want you to slot, if you have it, Shielded Assault or Shield Charge. It's the 4th ability, yeah. And essentially, when I call Swap, you'll get a little bit closer to my boss until you can Shield Charge him, and then you'll jump on him, taunt him, and I'll jump on yours and taunt yours. That'll facilitate them in moving the least amount of space out of our dots as possible, and it in my opinion, is the smoothest way to do this fight instead of just, running.
And we do that when they're apart, right?
Yeah, we do that when they're apart. If you're in a hard mode push group in which the group is pushing the bosses till 70 or even till 50 while they're all pushed together, sometimes you'll have to swap while they're reacting with one another. But yeah, essentially, if you have Halls of Fabrication status panel, it'll tell you when to swap. Because the timer, I think, starts, and once you hit 40 seconds of aggro, you have to swap. And that can happen whether they're apart or together. So typically they'll be apart, but you can also have to swap when they're together.
Okay.
All right, that was a lot of information. This fight's, in my opinion, one of the most well-designed fights in the game. I really enjoy it a lot. It's not super pretty. We're literally fighting in a trash pile, but I personally really like this fight because it's very engaging for the tanks to play. Lee, are you good to go?
Yep.
All right, sounds good. So Drat, on my call, I'll taunt left, you taunt the right one, and we'll drag them to the middle boss. And it'll be Drat your horn, and I can't see whose Colossus that is, but whoever has Colossus, there it is, Emu your Colossus. All right, pulling in 3, 2, 1. One thing tanks need to be really certain of is you don't get too close to the middle boss, the Reclaimer. He has a circular AoE that goes around his body, and that does a lot of damage. Alright, we're going to go ahead and pull apart. They're down. So Drat, go ahead and walk back to where you originally were, and your boss will follow you. And we have 30 seconds on our swap timer, and 10 more seconds we're going to need to swap. We do need to bring the bosses back in, so let's bring them together. There you go. And Drat, let's go ahead and swap right now while they're down. There you go. And we're going to pull the bosses apart. Everybody fight your constituent boss. Alright, and now we're going to bring them back in. This fight's a little interesting on normal because you don't have to play any mechs particularly.
There's no bombers.
Yeah, there's no bombers. The bosses take, quadrillions of damage. I don't think there's even the worry of being one-shot when they're all empowered. Yeah, relatively easy on normal, but you got to see kind of a taste of the swap mechanic, of the bringing the bosses in and out, and the stacking mechanic. The fight's really fun, and it's really easy if you play it properly. It's just, hard to play it properly. There's a lot of things going on. A lot of mechs I didn't go over because we're in normal. And if we get here on vet, we'll be going over those mechs.
Ooh, painting.
All right, these next ad pulls are relatively straightforward. Let's make sure nobody goes into this front door here yet. The main tank should typically be the first one to go because ads can take aggro of different players, and that causes a bit of a problem for the stacking. But essentially what we're going to do is we're going to stack exactly like I showed y'all earlier. We're going to put ourselves into the corner so the Mega Man will LOS us, and that'll stack everything pretty perfectly. And I'll show y'all there's a really great pull with the lightning pool that's coming up here soon. So let's go ahead and push in if everyone's good. Let's go ahead and go. Alrighty. And we got the exact same stack that we had before the triplets. And while we do these ad fights, if there are blades in the arena and we're stacking on an octagonal pad, make sure you're putting yourself in the very center of that pad. Otherwise, you're going to get killed by a blade. So definitely make sure to stack that. This ad's relatively easy. What we do is we pull him up the hill.
That water drains your magicka.
And it slows you. It's pretty bad. We pull him up the hill. We stack him right here. And he just stacks right here kind of perfectly, so we don't have to fight him in the water. This pull is a little bit inefficient, but it's even more inefficient to force everybody to fight in the water. So for this next pull, since we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ads, it's a bit of a struggle, but you essentially pull everything the exact same way that you do for the other fights. The Mega Men stack really nicely right here. You bring all the melee back onto him, and you're done. And I'm going to get knocked down a bit because I sat in the lightning strike and have no magicka. Alright, this next pull is a really interesting and fun pull that I really enjoy doing. It's very straightforward. Essentially, you taunt everything, and there is a hole in the right-hand area there that you jump in. So I'll show you all right now. You guys can stay back here if you like. If not, just run right in. You grab this guy, the Fabricant, and you jump right over here. And everything piles up just perfectly. You can't really see it on my screen. I'll try to pan out. Everything kind of just, piles up there. And the DPS just obliterate them all. You as the tank have a bit of a hard time there because you're always in the water. But it's overall not too terrible. There might be a loose Fabricant back there. You don't know. So normally you don't actually stack these two groups. These two guys are... It does a lot of damage to stack all these groups together, but I do enjoy stacking them. It's a little challenging because there's such a deep pull here, so sometimes you get this capacitor over here, the Mega Man, that pulls really far. But yes, typically you actually don't stack both those groups, but sometimes you will just because it's a lot of damage and it's a lot of time that you save. Alright, we can all go into the final boss now. I'll very briefly go over the strategy that we're employing here because the strategy is very simple before execute. So if everybody would stack right here on this center platform. So essentially what we have here is this is where the final boss does his execute mechanic. I'm sure everybody's seen it. In Vet, you will need to stack around the boss in a perfect circle with the support playing kind of an outward roll. So essentially what we'll do is we'll have one DPS here, one DPS here, DPS here, DPS here. Each of those DPS will have one DPS behind them, very, very close but not stacking on top of them. Then we'll have a healer here, tank here, and a tank here. So we'll stack up almost exactly in an octagon, circle, whatever you want to call it, so that we don't get hit with overlapping meteors. So on the inner ring, we're going to do Tobuscus here. Nice job. We're going to get Emu here. Mindy here. We're going to get Leah here. Then on the outside ring, we're going to get Ender here. Cone here. Eyeclap here. And Kriz here. Val, you're in a great spot. Mads, you're in a great spot. Drat, you are going to stack here. And this prevents meteors that come out of the boss when he's doing his execute phase from hitting multiple players. It's really easy for DPS because you can just stack somewhere on the rod and your healers will get you because they're right next to you. And then tanks don't really have much to do here except grab the ads that spawn. And that's kind of that for execute. So this is what we'll do when the boss enters his execute phase, which is at 20%. So for the actual boss, all the DPS are going to stack in the trench. And what that means is if you all come down here, imagine this big construct here is the assembly general. We will stack relatively close to the tank, but not on top of him. So kind of right here-ish. And the tank will stack right here. There's a little bit more damage down in the trenches because when the boss stomps, he sends out a wave of damage that hits all players in the trench. But you deal more damage, you get more centralized buffs, and you have overall a better run. We do need 2 people kiting, so that means essentially Mads will be up there. Drat, you will be on the left arm of the tank, of the boss that is, which is the blade arm. And this is a relatively easy job. You essentially run up here. When the fight's going on, there will be little tornadoes of electricity that go around on top of the stairs. And on the stairs, you'll need to dodge around those. You can't roll through them, and you can't block through them. They'll sap your magicka, slow you down, and then once your magicka's gone, they'll kill you. And the same goes for the healers. When the boss is about to fight, he has poison that spawns right here, here, and on the ramp. So you have to essentially run down the ramp and out here while the boss is moving. So the entire mech for this boss is that when you destroy 20% of his HP bar, regardless of where he is, he will go into the center of the arena and start charging, essentially repairing himself, doing whatever you want to call it. And at that time, ads will spawn, which ads technically spawn when you destroy one of his arms, but since we're on normal, they'll probably spawn at the same exact time. So healers and off-tank need to watch out, because while you guys are up here during the fight, when he starts moving, you need to come down and join the rest of the group. And that means you need to get down here and run along this bar while the group moves to follow the boss, while there is poison beginning to spawn in those areas I just discussed. So when the boss starts
Normally
moving...
for that, though, you just fall off. Just straight onto the middle. You can fall straight over. The poison's the worst when he's about to start fighting, like he was just saying. He'll shoot a beam out of his left hand at us, and that's when we know to start running up the ramp. If you start running once the poison's already landed, like this whole back rectangle becomes poison, the ramps become poison, you're done. So you have to, once you see that beam in the air, about to hit the whole group after they kill both terminals, that's when you start running up the ramp.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah, and the healer, I think, yeah, you're right. The healer can drop down. Tank, you cannot. You have to tank and taunt the two ads that spawn. So I'll tell you about that. When you're tanking this trial as off tank, you're responsible for the ads that spawn here, 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 and here. So when one arm of the boss is destroyed, he will spawn two ads on the side that, you know, that I guess houses the arm that was destroyed. So he has a flame arm over there and a blade arm over here. The flame arm always goes down first. So when the flame arm dies, the ads will spawn here and here. You'll get one ranged ad, one melee ad. You'll need to range taunt them both while dodging around the blade arm that comes out here, and they will run over to you, and you'll just need to hold them for the remainder of the fight until the boss moves. Then, when the blade arm goes down, you'll get an ad spawn here and an ad spawn here. Once again, it'll be one melee and one range. And all you'll need to do, since the boss will be moving, is get down out of here into the area in which all of the players are currently fighting. So what I like to do, and this is kind of a strategy that you don't really need to employ right now since we're doing normal, and even in vet it works out relatively well if you have taunt, you need to get those ads off of the platforms. Because if they don't move off the platforms, they'll stay up here and they'll just shoot at the group for the whole trial, and it'll cause wipes. So what you need to do is exactly what we saw earlier during our ad pulls and line of sight taunt them. So while you're up here, you'll taunt the ranged ad that spawns there, and the melee ad that spawns there. Then you'll taunt these two, spawn here and here, and you'll run to right here when the boss starts moving. And as the tank, you have a little bit of leeway because you have a good amount of HP to play with, and you won't die immediately to the poison like most DPS or healers would. So you have about 1 to 2 seconds in the poison before you die. And that's a very hard game to play. But what you'll do is you'll stand right here, and that'll force those ranged ads to walk down so that they can see you. And that means that the ranged ad will pop up here, and the ranged ad over here will pop up here. Then, once they're both in those areas, you can move down to the group, and they will follow you down this ramp and run along this bar with the rest of the group. And the group can kill them down here instead of having to fight them in the sky up here. It's really challenging to do properly. It's a big mess if you miss the mechanic too, so it's a lot of responsibility on the off tank to manage ads in this fight. It's a little challenging. But I definitely think it's something that you can manage, and if you want help, like we can swap, I'll put you on main tank and I'll do off tank just to kind of show everybody what it looks like. Like even I have trouble stacking them sometimes, so like it's genuinely, it's it's one of the harder things to do in this trial, just managing ads in this fight. But I think we probably have a good job doing it. Anything that I should repeat or go over again? I know there's a lot of information for everybody.
Trench. How do people survive in trench?
Trench, yeah. So basically surviving in trench is, it's a bit of a challenge on vet. On normal it won't be hard, but on vet it's very struggling. So the boss will stomp, and that sounds out a wave of what looks like dust through the trench, and it deals a lot of damage. You'll need to block cast when his foot comes up, and then when his foot comes down, that wave is going to pop out. It's going to go through the group, it's going to deal a lot of damage, and it will, I think, cut your HP bar in a third. But if you're block casting, it won't one-shot you. So surviving in trench requires a lot of attention that be paid to the main boss, which is challenging for a lot of DPS because you are maintaining your parse, keeping your uptimes, doing things like that. So what you need to focus on is the boss's feet, here and here. One of the feet will come up, and when it lands on the ground, that wave is going to come out. So you need to start block casting when the foot comes up, and then when it lands, you have about a half second until the damage passes through you. Then you can keep normal casting, and then go back to block casting when that foot comes back up. There will be a punch that occurs on the main tank on hard mode, in which he literally knocks your ass back into the center of the arena as the main tank. And then the tank has to get back to the boss before he jumps. And the jump mechanic is essentially, if the tank's too far away from the boss, he'll jump, and 3 jumps will kill a group. At any point in the trial, when he jumps 3 times, the whole group dies. There will also be little pools of mechanical arms that pop up in the trench. You just need to watch out for those and not step in them, because they'll slow you, root you, and deal damage to you. And that's essentially it. The fight's really interesting. I really like this fight. It's a very, I guess, in-depth mechanic. I went through a lot of mechanics there, so I definitely understand if some people haven't completely grasped them. But I think the best way to get kind of knowledge on this is just practice. So, Drat, if you look at the boss, if you come down here, you're always going to be on the left side. There's ramps on every single platform that you'll run around to get up on if you happen to come off. And there are, let me see, 4 platforms and 8 ramps. So you always need to orient yourself so you're on the platform that's to the boss's left arm. If you see he's got a big hook on one of those arms, you always need to be on that one. That's the arm that does the blade mechanic, and that's the arm that will be your main fighting target. Healer, you'll need to make sure you're always situated on the arm that has the fire mechanic. That's the big cannon he's got on his left arm. So our left is the tank, our right is the healer. And that's kind of it. Drat, just make sure you keep an eye out for those ads. They will always spawn when one of the boss's arms gets destroyed, so you just keep an eye out for those arms blowing up. And that is essentially how you tell when ads are coming up. So if you just watch the boss's arms, you'll be able to tell when the ads are about to spawn, and you'll taunt those ranged one and melee one. And when the boss starts moving, you'll move with him. You'll go to where I showed you on the staircase, drag those ranged bosses down, or ranged ads down, and then just pull them along the group.
Got it.
All right, that was a lot of information. Does anybody have any questions? I understand that most people here have done VHOF already. I just like going over mechanics because a lot of them pertain to tank mechs, and this is, after all, a tank trainer. So if anyone has any questions, let me know. Alrighty, I'm going to go ahead and ready check. I saw Chris, you were offline for a minute there. Are you good now?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right, if everybody would come stack on me right in front of the boss. And then Mads, get up to your area. And one more thing, when the boss moves, he'll leave behind a terminal at the place that he is going to and the place that he is going from. We'll need to kill the terminal, in both areas before the boss is able to move. And if we don't kill the terminals, then we die. So if we're standing right here, the first place he goes to, I believe, is the right. Yeah, I think the first place he goes to is the right here, so we'll go right and kill this terminal. And then he will set himself there. And then the next place he'll go to is I think it's cross. So go there and kill the terminal. This has all become more clear when the trial is actually starting. I'll actually call it out. And then he'll go, I think there's not one in the back. All right, if everyone's ready, I'm going to go ahead and pull Drat. You need to actually be a little bit closer to the boss up there. Yeah, you can get almost on top of his arm and it won't pull, so you're all good up there. Alrighty, we are pulling in 3, 2, 1. And if you look back behind the boss, there's that pink AoE. There's that foot. You guys got to make sure to block that. Mad's your horn. Emu, your Colossus. There's also blades that pop up down here. Did forget to mention that, but I mean, we are kind of on a blade track. All right, the boss is now moving. Drat, let's make sure we get those ads, and then we should have... Oh, wait, do we not have... And we're going to go up and then to the left here, guys. So we got a terminal over here. And then let's make sure we get the terminal from where he just came from. I don't know why it took so long spawning, but... And then once that terminal is down, we're going to turn around and destroy the ads behind us.
Are there only 2 of these ads on normal?
I actually think...
Or did we just roast the other ones? I didn't notice.
Yeah, and then let's go across and kill this terminal. I think it's actually... Oh, fuck. I'm a little confused now, because I actually don't remember this part. Then we need to go to the left and get this terminal over here. Alright, now the boss is moving again. Everybody, healer and tank, make sure you run up to your constituent areas. That's a set. Drat, be careful about those lightning strikes. Nicely done. Alright, he's moving again. We're going to do the same routine. We're going to kill the terminals down here. Alright, go ahead and kill the terminal in front of us. Good stacking on the ads, Drat. Alright, we're going to go down and to the right for the terminal. We're going to go down into the right again for this next terminal. Let's get res on iClap. Nice job. And then we're going to go once again down and to the right for the next terminal. Nicely done. And now the boss will move again. Healer and tank, get up to your constituent areas. Now let's make sure we're playing that stomp, because if you're doing this mechanic in veteran, that stomp will kill you. Oh, we need a healer on the right arm. Alright. Alright, boss is going to the middle. Alright, let's go ahead and get these terminals down. We're going to go down into the right to the next terminal. Once again, great stacking on the ads.
I'm getting hit by his reflection feedback, but I'm not even touching him. It's weird.
Do you have pets that are killing him?
It could be my pet. It could be my bear.
Yeah, if you're on vet, you need to unslot pets. Because if they attack the main boss, he will reflect that damage back to you, and it'll deal a pretty decent amount of damage. And after this stage, everybody, we're going to our stacks. So remember where you were stacked, and get ready to go there. Let's get our DPS, let's get our tank and our healer set. Let's make sure we're getting reses, guys. All right. Now we're going into final stage, so everybody get on your stacks. And we're just going to finish up the boss here. Nicely done, everybody. All right, so that's essentially, from a tank perspective at least, the mechanics that you have to deal with most commonly in this trial. It's a very ad heavy, stack intensive trial. You do a lot of ad management. You do have to be very cautious about where you take ads and how you stack them, as well as where you position yourself in any given ad pool. And then the bosses all have their own unique challenges. So it's definitely, if you want to tank this as a veteran trial player, it's very attention heavy. So, does anybody have any questions for me about the trial or about anything that we talked about thus far before we keep going? I guess I'll take a poll here. If you guys want to do veteran after that, I know it was a lot of talking, a lot of waiting for not a lot of action. So I'd understand if people are tired out. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a ready check in the group. If you want to go on to veteran, we could probably get the first 2 or 3 bosses down. At least get some practice on Factotum, which is the pug killer of this trial. So if you guys would like to do that, go ahead and ready up. If you wouldn't, no worries. Alrighty. Looks like we have a few people, and we also have some people left group. All right, guys, that's going to be it for us then. We have someone who's already left group. We had a few people
No,
who
that's
didn't
me. I
ready.
was swapping a crow.
I
I'm
got
ready
you.
to go.
I got you. All right, well, let me put another ready check up then, because Clap was one of the people who didn't respond. So we have Cone, I think Chris, Leah, and Val. Chris, are you interested in running again on that?
Yeah.
Perfect. Cone, I know you were a fill for this run, so I apologize if you didn't really know what you were getting into here. Do you want to try again on that? All right. We'll go ahead and port out everybody. All right, so let's go ahead and try again on vets. I'll go ahead and change the trial. Veteran. Cone, if you don't want to come back around for vet, no worries. Don't really have enough time for a full run, so it shouldn't matter that we have, 1 DPS down. If you do want to stay around and you're just muted for now, feel free to stay in the group. We're going to go ahead and port back in. All right. Clap, did I get you in here on your second character? I may not have.
Yeah. I'm just getting my EC out of the bank.
Gotcha.
Feyrez, does that mean you don't want me to EC?
Oh, if she wants the EC, I'll go.
Um,
I'll just go Parse Crow if she wants to practice.
Oh no, it's up to you, Clef. I just want to know